Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Feeding People podcast. I'm your host, Amy Dolan, and I'm so thrilled to be with you today. My guest is an amazing person. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation today. He is a private chef and the founder and executive director of the Evolved Network. My guest today is Sebastian White. Welcome, Sebastian.
How are you doing? So happy to be here and have this conversation with you.
So happy to have you here. We have so many great things to talk about today. And I am just in awe of who you are and your work. And I want to know all the things. So let's just get to it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell me specifically what food meant to you growing up.
I think food was an easy way to connect me to my mother. I have a number of memories of sitting on the counter while she cooked something and like walking through her process. I always tell the story about like my obsession with Dr. Seuss and green eggs and ham and how did the eggs became green. So she bought food coloring and like colored my eggs. Like it's just a lot of like really cool because it was just me and her. I was for sure connected to my father, but my mom raised me as a single parent and I'd visit him in the summers. But during my time with my mom, a lot of it revolved around food, and that was a way we spent time together. As I grew up, I was an athlete, so my diet became important to me. I just love to eat. That's in my genes. So that was a natural piece of eating good quality food. So food meant a lot to my experience growing up, and it's interesting that I never truly appreciated till I got into this work.
Right. It's like we take some of that for granted that we have all these like special moments with our relatives and our parents and what it means. I have so many memories with my great grandmother in the kitchen, and it's like, it's not, of course, you can't maybe really appreciate all that when you're young, but like when you're old, it just, I feel like I cling to all of that, all of those memories and all those recipes.
For sure. It's like hugs, like these, I don't know, like distant future hugs that you can like feel in the moment that I guess give you comfort for sure. And cherish people. Like those memories, it's more than just the food. It's about who it's with. It's really powerful and pretty cool.
So cool. Do you have a recipe that you make now or you eat now that just brings you right back to your mom or to your childhood?
Not necessarily. See, what's interesting is we didn't have recipes. And I still don't use recipes. I am inspired by recipes. I look at what people do.
I knew we were gonna connect, Sebastian.
I have never actually followed a full recipe down to the T. I get inspired from what I see, and I think and try to make it my own. I think that's the beauty of food. You can be so creative. There's infinite possibilities, and that I think transitions into how you live in a lot of powerful ways. But yeah, I've never actually replicated a recipe. What I have done, my mom has a dressing recipe. So we only have it for Thanksgiving and Christmas. She did write it down, and I freshened that up. Let's put it that way. I freshened that up as I got older. More quality ingredients. Just trying to be thoughtful about it, but also staying true to her flavors and her concept because it's delicious. It truly is delicious. It was my favorite thing to eat during those times. But it's like an all day night situation. I can remember her doing it and me staying up watching it and tasting along the way. Like it's cool. So I definitely tasted. I'm like, how does this compare to hers? Like that's like I'm over there competing with my mother. Anyway,
I think that's all right. It encourages the best out of all of us, right?
100%. Healthy competition is a beautiful thing.
That's right. So let's talk about your career path and how you got to being a private chef. I know you are a psychotherapist. And so let's just start there because I am a big therapy fan over here. As a recipient of therapy for a good part of my life, I cannot thank my own therapist and all the therapists who do the good work enough. I imagine the world would be a million times better if we all handled our trauma and our grief and were able to connect in therapeutic ways. And so tell me about your path, how you started there and how you got to cooking.
When I went to college, I was an athlete, so I played football, and I was very much stuck in that persona, that identity. That was all that I knew. When people mentioned Sebastian, they thought football. Like that was so intense a piece of my identity. I knew I wanted to work with kids, and all my life I thought, okay, let's just be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
So I took Bio 3 and organic chemistry and decided that that probably wasn't for me.
That did it.
I have a very vivid memory of sitting down for my Bio 3 exam, our final, and I looked at it.
That was
About
it.
halfway through, I was like, okay, what am I sitting here for? I need to just go. Like, I'm wasting
Wait,
my
you
time.
got all the way to the end of the class in the final and you were like, that's it?
Well, I couldn't answer half the questions and didn't
Okay.
know what to do. I was
Okay.
like, there's nothing like thoughtful that I could put to answer this question. So
Got
I think
it.
I'm just gonna walk. So I had a conversation with my advisor at the time, and she said, well, you need to explore other things. And so I took psychology and I took philosophy. Of course, I think I took ethics. That reopened my world. It changed how I thought. It made me interested and creative. It helped me find a new version of myself and what was important to me. Questions, being curious, thoughtful, these different things. Why do we behave? What do we do? What's the pieces? Why are we the way that we are? So I started getting into those type of things. I decided I wanted to be a psychotherapist during my junior year, and I wanted to kind of fuse in like some philosophical concepts. And so when I left college, I ended up teaching for a year in DC it's called the Howard Gardner School. It's very much they call us the hippie school. Literally, the school looked like a teepee. It was pretty cool. But we had a lot of kids who had learning quote unquote disabilities or were bullied in school, just had rough times. So we got that population of students, and I realized there how important relationships are and how that impacts kids. Building quality, trusting relationships, and also this dynamic about like hierarchies was really felt. Like, yes, I'm quote unquote authority, but I don't need you to see me that way to feel empowered or to feel like this is going to progress or
Yes.
make this work. And so I really enjoyed that experience. I got immediately into grad school after that year and moved to Chicago. 3.5 years into my doctorate, my mother got sick and I left. I started working for an organization out in Grays Lake. I was still in the city, but went there. And I ended up being tasked to work with kids who were in gangs and at risk for joining. Went to the Waukegan Police Department. They suggested that high school was too late, so I needed to work with middle schoolers
Wow.
because that's when a lot of the decisions were being made. And so I ended up creating relationships in the Waukegan School District, and they placed me in the middle schools. And I would work with kids at school because that was your best chance of getting to them was when they were at school and could be consistent. Spring of 2020, my aunt passed away unexpectedly. That rocked me pretty bad because she was like another mother. A month later, as my father is telling me stories about how amazing she was, he passes away. So that was a very, very rough period of my life. My father was very much my best friend. I learned a lot from him, just really significant to who I was. From that, I put together a concept because I wanted to honor their legacies, almost like keeping them alive through my work, like passing on. I also think there's something about legacy that's meaningful. I want their legacies to live on in a powerful way. And if I can take some control over that, I will. And that's what I've tried to do with the Evolve Network. Our concept was truly a fusion of all of our passions. Before my father passed, he was begging me to go stage in a restaurant because he saw what I was creating and he thought, looks like you have some skill, go do it. And I just didn't. I didn't want to. But I knew if this was the route I was going to go into, I had to take that leap and show that I could live within the culinary world and bring true quality in it despite my fears, my concerns about not being trained, my concerns about not truly ever really working in a restaurant outside of like bartending positions. So I knew I had to take a leap because that's a lot working against me. And I've just been very fortunate with how things have taken off because it's happened very quickly. It's a pretty incredible, unique story.
Yes. First and foremost, I'm so sorry for your losses. Thank you for sharing that with us. And to have what it sounds like the most amazing people in your life that inspire you, not only while they're living, but also after they've passed, to create something as beautiful as you have is just truly incredible. So sorry for your loss. And what a beautiful thing you're doing in keeping their memory and spirit alive by the work that you're doing. When you were working in the middle school in Waukegan, did you notice anything about food as you were like working with the kids? Was there any connection yet for you, or did that come much later? I know you weren't teaching them cooking yet specifically, but had you started to like see some of the seeds of the role that cooking or food could play in their lives?
I saw relationships. I
Uh,
saw that what the kids ate was typically not quality. I saw when kids were stressed, what they leaned on was just traditionally food. But
uh,
I
uh,
also noticed that the kids weren't eating their lunches at
uh,
school. That's something that I did pick up on, and that stuck with me as I've gone through this process. But I think it truly is that work and like quality of relationships and being with the kids that I'm able to fuse into my work. I promise you, even then, if you would have told me this is what I would be doing, I would have laughed at you because I didn't see it that way until I started truly putting this thing together. And I'll be honest with you, I continue to learn about its impact and what's happening as I
uh,
move forward in the process. I don't have it all figured out yet. So I'm still gaining knowledge and perspective as things happen. And I think that's the beauty of our concept, the unpredictability, the unknown space, and what comes up, what you learn,
uh,
what I learned from the kids. And that process as well is pretty cool and
uh.
powerful.
It's so cool, right? And if cooking is therapeutic, as of course we believe it is, then that should be a lifelong journey of learning and
Yes.
understanding ourselves, and all
And
of us evolving as we learn about ourselves as we do it, right? So
100%.
I hope that's true for everyone. So let's talk about the Evolved Network, your nonprofit. It's just the most beautiful thing. Can you just give us a summary of your mission and what you're doing?
So our concept is using the farm to table process um, as a means to create a space that's healing and therapeutic.
Huh.
Like many of the kids that I work with feel like their limitations outweigh their possibilities. And so I
Hmm.
am using food and access to food
Wow.
to try to change that type of messaging. The kids are learning tangible skills, but the power is happening in the intangible,
Hmm.
the
Wow.
unexpected, the unpredicted, the unknown spaces. I can't predict what's going to come up if we're cutting an onion. I can't predict how a kid's going to want to decide to use an ingredient in a class. I can't predict
Hmm.
what's going to come up. I've had so many interesting disclosures, powerful, vulnerable disclosures that came out of nowhere. And I think it's because of the space that's being created.
Hmm.
And then to take advantage of how, when things come up, how to use that to teach. I think what is educational is therapeutic, and what is therapeutic is also educational. I think
Hmm.
they're a piece of each other, and that's what we're trying to embed in our process,
Hmm.
for sure. Like with planning, I think the duality of meanings in watching something grow is pretty crazy.
Hmm.
Let's say planting a seed,
Yeah.
both literally and figuratively, what that means, that messaging that's there. If you think about how plants, depending on most situations, take care of each other as they
Hmm.
grow. But if you just think about like watering,
Hmm.
attention, sunlight, love, comfort, there's just so many like hidden messages in how
Hmm.
we take care of our plants if we took care of other human beings like that. It's interesting
Hmm.
that you talked about the therapeutic stuff. My perspective is if human beings treated each other the right way, therapists would not be necessary.
Oh, please.
So
Oh, okay.
that's the place. That's the place that I
Yes.
think we should be searching
Hmm.
for. Um,
Wow.
I did a fellowship conversation with Pilot Light, who was like a really special partner of ours.
Hmm.
But I talked about how grocery stores have, in some ways, handicapped our connection that we feel with our food.
Yes.
It's so like, okay, I got it, and we dispose of it. It's not important. But when you
Yes.
grow your own stuff, I know sometimes I don't even want to use it because I invested so much time
That's
into
exactly how
growing it,
it feels
into
like a
growing.
living,
Yes. Yes.
breathing. I'm like, this is my baby. I cannot eat this.
Yes. Yeah. But
Yes.
that's special. How you use it, how you care for it when you use it is more meaningful. It changes your experience. Um, and the thought that you put into how you want to use it. I don't know. It's just pretty special. And then if you get into the kitchen itself, oh my God, there's so many lessons. The perseverance. People don't understand how hard it is to plate something and put it in front of somebody. The
Yes.
type of
Yes.
courage and vulnerability that's there.
Mm, uh,
It's also a way of expressing, I think it's a love language in so many ways. I show love through food. That's how I show my family love. I
yes.
cook at night. And I
Mhm.
plate it as beautifully as I can. I want it to taste as best as I can because that's the
Yes.
way, a form of expression, the way I show love. So there's those pieces. I think about just creativity. I do tasks with the kids. Like one of our activities is I give them a list of ingredients and I say create a dish, and I swear every single time, doesn't matter when, the group goes, "Can I add this, this, and this?"
Uh,
And my response is, "No, obviously not. I've given you plenty to work with. If you can see the beauty in what you have,
uh,
that changes your experience, right? Versus looking for other things to make this what it needs to be. See what you use what you have and the beauty in what that is. That's your space of power. That's
wow.
what you can control. But also understanding, no, I need to expand how these kids' perspective by expanding what they see. They have access to what they know, what they see. It shouldn't be when I go into a school in Auburn Gresham, they say that we eat cup noodles here, and in Lincoln
Mhm.
Park they eat lobster and steak. That should not be their perspective.
Yes.
But that speaks to equity. That speaks to a larger issue that people don't get. It's not about just throwing food at people. That's about how they think the world sees them, and
Yes.
that they have to justify to themselves that cup noodles is what their existence is and means,
Wow.
and they almost put it on a pedestal because they have to, because they don't have access to these things. That shouldn't be the way food operates, and that message hits more than just about like eating and food and
Yes.
health. Like there's more that's playing in terms of people's consciousness in terms of these things, and that's what we're trying to work through and get kids to understand and also think about. A lot of kids don't even think about it. Like the other day I
Right.
was in a class, I asked kids, "Where's the nearest grocery store?" And they pause, and then they're still not putting together like, why do I need to think this hard about where the nearest grocery
Mhm.
store is and what that means? And in other spaces, why are grocery stores on every other corner that are quality, where I can get fresh quality produce, so forth and so
Yes.
on. So pushing those messages is really important. And the biggest one, truthfully, is about choice. I think choice is for sure a gift and a curse, but it is truly the expression of our humanness and our inherent freedom, right? It's choice.
Yes. Mhm.
I want the kids to understand that they have choice. Food creates that opportunity because you have to choose what you're going to eat, right? Every day, that's a choice you get to make. So if I can expand how they think about choice, if I can get them to try something new, I change their perspective on how they live, what they might be open to, what opportunities they might take, how they're willing to step outside of their boxes. That I hope will change their experience and let them live a more fulfilled experience. And I always tell the kids, everything that you like was once new to you. How do you know that you like it? Because you had to try it, right? You had to try it. Everything you like was once new to you. So
Yeah.
stop acting like you didn't have to take a risk to try it.
Yeah.
So let's expand the biggest thing that happens if you don't like something is you don't like it. You learn something, right? That's the
That's
worst
right.
thing that happened. And so that's the messaging that I'm pushing and helping the kids try to think for themselves.
Mm.
And it's pretty cool and powerful. And then when you get to the service piece, I can think back on my experience as a bartender, how good I felt if I got a great tip, right? About if somebody opened up to me at the bar, was willing to talk to me, if they appreciated my service and the care that I showed, it impacted how I felt about myself. There's something really beautiful about giving love and how that love gets returned to you. And so this redemptive piece You know, people often, when I use the word broken, they take it in this very defensive way.
Mm.
I think we're all broken or have brokenness. Um, I think it's how we rebuild that brokenness and how that scar tissue hardens for us,
Yes.
changes our experience in the world. And that's what I mean by brokenness, is how we repair and how we
Mm.
strengthen and how we learn and how we grow from said experiences. And I think that that can happen through service and how you care for people. Hospitality is
Mm.
interesting in that way. It is truly about care and expressing love and creating an experience for a person where they feel valued. And I think that impacts how we feel about ourselves. So that's a lot of complexity in terms of what's happening, but it's all there. I think it's all a part of our mission. That's why I think this is like the perfect analogy
Mm.
in terms of what can be healing and therapeutic and change perspective on a lot of different things in our world.
Sebastian, wow. Thank you for all that. All of that was just so beautiful, and it just is like sitting in my body so deeply. So thank you for everything that you shared. At the Evolve Network, are the kids middle school, high school? Is that the age they are?
So I've worked with kids 6 through, I want to say 24. I would
Wow.
say 85% of our kids, though, exist between, I want to say, fourth grade and sophomores in high school. That's the
Okay.
majority of where our kids range. So it's a big range of maturity,
Yeah.
but I think all of this applies. It's interesting how as you go up, the boxes get smaller in
Yes.
terms of how what they're open to.
Yes.
But I feel like I haven't had to adjust much. Maybe language a little bit, but overall themes are still consistent and persistent despite
Yes.
age ranges.
Right.
I
Right.
think it still impacts in the same positive and beautiful way. And honestly, I've met third graders that seem more mature to me than some sophomores in high school. It's just
Definitely. Right.
it's hard to put these like categories in terms of age ranges on them. But yes, that's the population and the focus of what our work has been so far.
And so offering this culinary program in various neighborhoods throughout the city to these kids obviously has done so much and is doing so much for them. I'm curious how they have impacted you. And as you've been teaching and chopping those onions alongside them, like, yeah, how they've impacted you.
I go back to the disclosures. I think
Mm.
when kids disclose, I've heard kids disclose sexual abuse, all types of things
Mm.
just out of nowhere. It lets me know that I'm doing like this is
Mm.
working.
Yes.
I think when I see kids push and all of a sudden there's this sudden like complete reversal in terms of things. I had one girl tell me I've learned everything I need to learn. She's 12. I know
Okay.
everything I need to know. I
What
know
a
when I
teacher
give,
you are.
yes. No, this is before. And then I wish I could say that, but no. But she really struggled with anything creative. Now
Mm.
she's the first one to come up with an idea and open to
Mm.
everything. It's pretty cool when the kid says, I don't want to try that, and sits over a garbage can as she tries it. The next day, I
Yes.
want to try a raw Brussels sprout. Like it's just crazy how like quickly things can shift.
Yeah.
So it's seeing our kids evolve and change. And how like I said, I continue to learn from those experiences with them.
Mm.
That helps me deepen my connection to this concept and to our model and my perspective as I'm moving forward with them. In terms of how that's impacting how I care for others as I move
Yes.
forward. It's pretty cool.
That's so beautiful, the way that you care for them and they care for you in terms of like reminders that you're doing the right work and encouragement and empowering you to keep going. I mean, that's just, like you said earlier, how we should all be caring for each other. And so none of the therapists are even needed. That applies to all ages. We should be caring for each other
100%.
at all ages. Okay, so I have this theory that people who are chefs and great cooks are also the best eaters and the best guests. So like I'm a home cook. I love to cook for everyone. And sometimes when people invite me over to eat and they've cooked for me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, Amy, I'm so nervous." I'm like, you have nothing. Like I will appreciate and enjoy that I didn't cook this, that you made this out of love. Like I'm going to be the
100%.
best eater you have ever met. But people are so nervous to cook for chefs and people who cook. And so I'm just wondering, like, are you an amazing eater? Are you the best guest to invite over for dinner because you'll appreciate it? Or no, are you just like, no, I'm going to criticize every part of this?
I'm a little mix of both, and I need to be cautious about that because who am I to judge anybody's anything? I think I like eating other people's food because I like seeing other people's perspectives.
Yeah.
How my partner cooks, what she'll put together is, I'm like, I'm asking those questions. Like, how did you decide to do that? I think that expands me. There's something I can try or incorporate into my repertoire in some way without taking, but just understanding like how people are thinking about food. That's what I like about eating other people's cuisine. It expands me and how I think. I do like a weekly menu that I make for my family, but that's also like practice time for me. I often spend time looking at other chefs' menus to see what they're thinking, how they're inspired, what's inspiring me. I definitely can be critical, but I keep that to myself.
Yes.
I won't tell you unless you like really, really ask, and even then it depends. But I think that I try to be the best eater and respectful. And again, I do love it when other people cook for me. Like I like that. I'm typically the one doing all the cooking. It's nice when somebody else is taking care of you. It feels wonderful.
It feels so wonderful. Yes. Yes. That's a great tip. And it's not that I share critique either, but I'm going to keep that real deep in my mind. There is no need. And also just, you can appreciate everyone's food and expand yourself, learn more about others by eating food that someone else made for you and just feel the love. Like, even if you don't prefer the taste of what they made, feel the love, feel that hug, feel that love, right?
It's time and investment and care that they put into that they're sharing with you. So yes.
That's right. Okay, Sebastian. So we're wrapping up now, and I'm wondering, what are you having for dinner tonight?
What am I having for dinner tonight? Oh, I don't know if I can share this. Okay, I will. I'm going to make a collard green fried rice.
Oh.
I'm gonna do like Korean fried chicken, but I'm using gizzards and chicken hearts. So it's a really plain like this. I have like an upcoming event where I'm supposed to be used like Southern inspired concepts.
Okay.
But I have a lot of thoughts about that, but I won't get into that on this.
Okay.
So I'm doing my best to live within that space, but also like speak to like my fusion concepts and how like this new American style that I feel like is true to me as a chef. So playing with the Southern and then like in those Asian areas. So that's what I'm doing tonight.
That sounds delicious. This is a meal you're just practicing for your family tonight?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I came up with the idea this weekend as I was building out the menu concept, and we'll see what happens.
It sounds so good. Okay, well, I'll look forward to seeing how that goes. I'm going to look for where this plays out. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom. Thank you for the incredible work that you're doing and the incredible love that you're putting into the city. Of course, we all appreciate that so much. And everyone needs to check out the Evolved Network and stay connected to I love the dinner events that you all do. And
thank you for mentioning that.
Yes. I think you've got one coming up, right?
Yes, I do. April 22nd at Uwe Kitchen and Wine Bar. It's in Andersonville. Chef Lindsay has supported me from the beginning. My very first pop-up, true restaurant pop-up, was in her restaurant. So I am celebrating my aunt. She passed on Earth Day, which is fitting and also obviously difficult, but it makes sense that she passed on Earth Day. Like it just feels like if this is how we lose her, this is the perfect time too. So yes, I'm celebrating her life. With a really cool menu. It's pretty creative and interesting. I hope you guys can make it out.
That's great. Okay, so stay connected to the Evolve Network on Instagram, on your website, and you can see all of the events that come up that Sebastian does. Make sure to get tickets for that April 22nd. That's what you said, April 22nd,
Correct.
Earth Day. That's going to be amazing. And thank you. Thank you for all of this. And subscribe to his newsletter too. I really love your newsletter. I'm a newsletter junkie, let me tell you. And yours is good. Yours is very good. So make sure to subscribe to
I
the
got some
newsletter.
quality people in the background helping me out. So I won't take any responsibility for it.
Pass it along. That's a good
Yes.
newsletter.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sebastian.
Thank you.